Oh,
Hey volunteers, it's me again. Wanted to give you some exciting news. We are getting into the tea business. We've had tea for a while, but it's been very inconvenient. People don't know about it. It's just hard to fool with. And we've had a lot of requests for Harney & Sons. I've tasted it myself. It's great. So I want to let you know how this is going to work. What we'll do, we're going to talk about why we picked Harney & Sons. We're going to talk a little bit about what tea is, other than just a cup. We're going to talk about brewing chemistry, procedures in our cafe, how we'll deliver it, how to store it, and also health benefits. First of all, Harney. They've been around for 25 years. They have a very good reputation. They use, instead of a little tea bag that gets kind of crushed and it's paper thin, they have a sachet. So it's basically like a pyramid. It's made out of silk, and what it does is it lets the tea leaves kind of bloom and get bigger and kind of brew a little bit better than in an actual conventional tea bag you get at the grocery store. The other thing is, once we actually get this tea in, which should be available November 2nd of 2008, just take a look at one of the sachets and look at the leaves. You can actually see real leaves in there rather than this powdery, musty, nasty, whatever you get from the grocery store. So that's our pick. Now, tea. Technically, tea is just dried leaves that's processed, dried again. It comes from a bush or a plant that's called a tea plant, and I can't pronounce the scientific name, so I won't try. Sometimes, more broadly though, it can include other plants, their leaves, herbs, flavorings that are put in, and just brewed like tea. So that's the difference. Now, there's several major categories of tea. First of all is black tea, and that is the most processed. There's green tea, which is lightly processed. There's oolong tea, which is medium processed. There's white tea, which is very, very lightly processed, hardly at all. Processing involves drying, shaking it up so it bruises the leaves, doing a couple other little things. I have no clue what it is, and then putting it in the package. Then the final major category of tea is your herbal tea, which really is not a true tea at all. It's made out of herbs other than the tea plant. It may have flowers in it and flavorings. Let's talk about tea brewing. There are basically three variables, and they're very similar to coffee. One is the amount of leaves, and it is weighed. That's what we should have been doing all along, just didn't have the technology to do it. The second thing would be the steeping time, when it's actually in the hot water. And the third would be the water temperature. And we'll talk more about that later. Now, let's talk about tea brewing here at Epic Cafe, how we're going to handle that. The Harney sachets will give us the right amount of tea for a 12-ounce cup. So that is going to be the only size that we'll offer from now on. Putting it in a 16-ounce cup and then just brewing it longer, that's kind of like in our Fetco here, not putting enough coffee in and then just hoping if we brew it again or something it would be better, or brewing it longer, and you have to have the right ratio to chemicals to get the flavors out you want. So that's how we'll do it. The Fetco here has a temperature guide, and Sarah, if you can come over here and try your best to zoom in on this. Ideally, it would be desirable to look at the kind of tea you're getting and then brew it with this water temperature. And it looks like almost all but the herbal teas have a 2 to 3 minute steep time, which the customer will be in charge of. And the problem is, though, this machine, we've got it set for 200 degrees, so really the only way to get a lower temperature would be to put a thermometer in the customer's cup and add cold water or an ice cube to get the temperature down, or perhaps they can just wait a little bit. So of all the variables, the water temperature is the least important. It's the one, if you have to shortcut, you can get by on. So we're going to brew at right about here, about 200, and it will make a pretty good cup of tea. The other thing, you notice here the number of infusions. What this means is, if somebody wants a larger cup of tea, what we'll do for them, I mean, obviously if they want a 16-ounce cup and they want to brew it incorrectly, we'll give it to them. We won't charge them extra. But what we need to tell them is that they can buy a 12-ounce cup, they can have their cup of tea, and then they can just get another cup of water from us, just keep the same cup, fill it up again, and we won't charge them for that second cup of water. We don't need to we will reuse a cup, so don't give them a new cup, but the water we won't charge them for, obviously. and they can have 2 to 3 cups of tea for the price of one. The only thing to consider, and Alex Royer told me this, and I verified it through Harney & Sons, the second time and third time and beyond that you steep tea and reuse a tea bag, there's not much caffeine that comes out. So if they're looking for that extra kick, you don't want to just get some coffee. That's what they should be drinking anyway, but if they prefer tea, they can go with that, get a second bag and get that hit. But on the other side is if they want to have 2 or 3 cups of tea, don't want a lot of caffeine, there's your answer. They just have to reuse that bag and they won't increase their caffeine content a whole lot. Now, the other thing is, with that, is we will always carry one decaf tea, but if somebody really wants decaf tea in a different flavor or varietal or anything like that, all they have to do is steep their bag, have us pour it down the sink, and then we'll fill up the cup again, and that second time they steep it, it'll pretty much be decaf. It'll be very close. So that's a solution for everybody. The other thing that we'll do as part of our procedure is we'll let tea customers know they just need to be bold and come right up to the counter and say, hey you, or hey Alex, or whoever. Alex is always here, so we'll use him as an example. Or just come around the corner here, and if they want to help themselves they can, or they can just grab us and refill. No reason for them to wait in line. I don't want to make it inconvenient. And if demand really warrants it, we may end up getting a tea pitcher or maybe putting a carafe out later on. But for now, that's how we'll do it. Now here's how the process will work. And Sarah, if you could focus on the cash register. The customer will order, the cashier or the drink setter will write the customer's name and tea on the cup, just like normal. The cashier will hand the customer the prepackaged tea. We will have our display set up right here on this counter where we have the bagged coffee. The customer may have already grabbed their bag waiting to pay, so either way works out. The barista then will take the cup that's been placed right here, run over, get the water, and hand that to the customer. And the couple things that they want to, the barista will want to say is to have them steep for 2 to 3 minutes, unless, come over this way, that's really loud, probably can't hear me. The only reason you'd steep longer is, according to the guide here, the herbal teas get 3 to 5 minutes, so let them know how long to steep. If they would like a little bit lower temperature, we will do ice cubes or cold water in the cup to get the temperature down to the appropriate temperature. I don't expect too many customers will be that discriminating and really even know, let alone care, but we can do that. The other thing as a barista you need to do is remind them to save the bag that their sachet comes in, because they will be able to reuse this for a second cup, or if they want to take it home and have a cup later on tonight, they can do that. And also it's key to let them know that when they get a refill, just be very bold and get our attention, interrupt us, and get more water. Now, let's go back to our caffeine discussion for a moment. People always are curious how much caffeine is in different items. And let's start at the top. Coffee has about 80 grams of caffeine. I've seen as high as 100. That's about where one shot has. So a 16-ounce latte would be like 2 cups of coffee. 12-ounce would be like 1 cup of coffee. If you get a cola, soda, whatever, pop, whatever you call it, personally, you're going to have about half of coffee, about 45 milligrams. And I think that's for a 12-ounce can. Black tea has almost as much caffeine as a pop at 40 milligrams. Oolong tea has 30 milligrams. Green tea has 20. White tea has 15 milligrams. And decaf has anywhere from 5 to 10. So again, for those folks who want some sort of decaffeinated tea, but it's not the flavor they want, they could get the white and just drink that first steep, and it's not going to be a whole lot more caffeine than they would have with decaf anyway. Most people won't even react to that. And then obviously the herbal teas are actually more decaffeinated than decaf, because they're not tea, so they don't start with any caffeine, so nothing has to be removed. So that's another option for people who are looking for decaf tea. There are also many health benefits for tea, and those range from anywhere help with allergies, your breath, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes. There's a list of about 25 or 30 things and studies that would let you know what's going on there, and each kind of tea helps with a different thing. And if you're very curious, you can go to a website called Adagio, and that's spelled ADAGIO, D as in dog, AGIO.com, and go to the health benefits section and you can read up if you're curious. Here's my summary. There's a whole lot more to know about tea than I covered today. I hope this gives you the confidence, though, to talk to your customers. I think now you'll know more than most of your customers and be able to answer all their questions. I also encourage you to try a cup of the tea when it gets here. Use that as your drink, and that way when customers say what's your favorite or what do you think of this tea, you'll actually have an opinion. It'll give you a chance to suggestive sell and offer more tea, and let's really do all we can to penetrate and grab those tea drinkers that right now are not coming to our cafe. Thanks again for your volunteerism.